The last time we were together, we talked about internship development and how do you develop good quality internships. And this training is about the time that you, after you develop the internship, but before you actually start training, there's a window of time in that time period, sorry. So there's that space where you're actually getting ready for the internship training. And there's actually a lot to do. And I think sometimes we believe, okay, I went and developed the internship, the program's starting, or I'm ready to start third internship and I'm ready to go. Well, to be more prepared, there are a lot of things we could be doing to help us have a really meaningful and intentional internship training time with our young people. So that's what this next time period that while we're together is going to be about. So how do you, what do you all have to do between the time that you've got that internship, you've met with the manager, you've got the beginnings of a task list, and the first day of the internship? I hope that makes sense. And I can't see very many of your faces. Most of you aren't on. I do see Diane's face and I see Cheryl's face and I see a couple of people, but a lot of people have just their names. So hi, Donna. So give me a thumbs up or a nod if that makes sense in terms of that kind of time period. Okay, so we are going to watch a video. We're actually going to watch a video of a project search program in Virginia. And so you might even take a picture of these questions, because as you watch this video, I want you to think about these things. So what do you see the interns doing? What examples of high expectations and high expectations of internships do you see? And as you watch the interns, what do you think they can do from this time forward? And what might be the employment outcome if this was their internship? Where could they go from here? And then think about what skills should they be learning next if they were doing the things that you see them doing in this video. What would you talk about with your team that this intern could do next, and next? And then what might be a next internship? So if we're in our second internship right now and you watched these young people, what do you think could lead to the next internship? I hope those questions make sense, but I think they will once you start watching the video. All right, so let's hope this works.
In the durable medical equipment unit.
I'm going to take it back to the beginning. Tell me if you can hear it.
Every day at every
Can you hear it?
In the country, there is so much work to be done. Every room must be stocked
Yes.
with essential items that ensure every patient has what he or she needs to be comfortable, to recover in a clean environment, and to ensure that every instrument used in the surgical process is perfectly sterile. This is essential to the work of doctors, nurses, and therapists. It is the work of some capable and highly dedicated young people who are learning skills and are headed toward a brighter future. This is the work of Project Search. Project Search is a one-year high school transition program that provides skills training and internship opportunities for young adults with disabilities between the ages of 18 and 22. People like Ashley.
I love working here. This is number one beautiful hospital in America.
So did you find the pillowcases?
Yes, my friends was given to me.
As Ashley prepares a maternity room in a hospital with guidance from her Project Search instructor, Jim Kiefer, she is doing so with her entire routine memorized.
And the last thing on the list is the pink bad pen.
She knows what needs to be placed where. She keeps a tight schedule. Whether it's making packets for new moms or stocking supplies for patients in their rooms, this high school student has already gained important work skills during her first internships. Have you learned anything about yourself in doing the work here?
I learned how to be more mature and take more responsibility into our hands.
With Ashley, we noticed in her that she's a very outgoing personality, a good work ethic. She tries her best. And those are some qualities that we really look for in our students.
Ashley's work in Project Search is part of a collaborative effort to increase the employment outcomes of youth with significant disabilities. Project Search, originally founded by Aaron Riley at the Cincinnati Children's Hospital, blends the local resources of businesses, school systems, and rehabilitation services to create a win-win situation for all. The program matches student strengths and interests to 3 internship opportunities in the business. For Kyle, that means using his mathematical skills to ensure nurses have all the stocked items next to the nursing station, ready at a moment's notice.
He's in charge of stocking all of the patient supplies, so without him, patients wouldn't have any supplies at all. And he definitely loves to be important. It's very important to him that the work he's doing is important. So he's definitely doing a good job, and he's very mathematically minded, so it's easy for him to count, do the inventory. He really enjoys that type of work.
For Ronald, that means ensuring surgical instruments are thoroughly clean before they're sterilized. Damien now works in the main pharmacy, where medications are placed and replaced before they expire. Annie secured her job in the maternity ward, where newborns and their parents are ensured clean surfaces wherever they go. Chris didn't take long to catch on to his responsibilities as an intern. His work and his capabilities earned him a job in the durable medical equipment unit, where he thoroughly cleans the infant isolettes and other medical equipment.
No concerns at all with Chris. Chris caught on real fast. He's a quick learner. We have good trainers here that work with him diligently throughout his process in the beginning. Chris was actually independently working on his own within 2 weeks. His enthusiasm, his willing to work, he's on time.
Interested students like Annie and Chris completed an application and interviewed for the program through their local school system. The hospital can offer a student intern a job at any point during the school year or upon graduation.
By doing this program, we hope that they get the job skills, things such as time management, staying on task, work pace, things of that nature, that they can learn those skills and then we can apply it in a practical setting.
Why are we here?
To learn job skills.
Who are we?
Project Search interns, world class.
The people who are guiding these students understand this is a tremendous opportunity for the schools, the businesses, the students, and their families. An opportunity to both develop valued work skills and to open doors for jobs in the community.
I think that it's sort of changed some attitudes about people who have significant disabilities, including myself. I've been doing this for 20 years. And some of the things that Ronald is doing, I didn't even expect him to be able to do, and he fooled me. And how quickly he learned how to do some of the higher skill things that are in here.
Those kinds of surprises are popping up in hospitals across Virginia. Annie came in as an intern and surprised everyone with an extraordinary growth and maturity, a sense of responsibility, and an ability to, at long last, connect with people.
When Annie first came to us, she wouldn't speak to us. She wouldn't look us in the eye. And now she's playing with us. She'll sing songs with us in the hallway. She works alongside of us and will do extra things as we need her to. So to see that progression in her has really just given the staff a sense of warmth and hope.
She's grown up so much. She's taken on adulthood, which is tough for any young adults, whether they have disabilities or not. And she really has taken her life on and is working hard to be a good employee. It's just very important to her.
A significant part of the success of Project Search is the training students receive. representatives of the local school system and job coaches work with the students to ensure they understand their tasks and learn how to perform them with competence.
So I want you to pay attention to that word solution. Okay, it's in the skill steps for asking questions on the job site. Okay.
So when I look at a job, I dissect that job into small parts, and then I might use pictures, take pictures of those steps, and then use those pictures to train students. I may keep the pictures on a sheet in front of them so they sort of have a cheat sheet so they can remember how to do things. Eventually, what I do then as they learn is I remove the pictures, or I remove anything that they don't really need. It was just a teaching tool at the time to help them.
The job coaches they have with this project are some of the finest people I have ever met.
As a parent of a young adult with a disability, Teresa Levitt jumped at this chance for her daughter. She understands all too well the reality of her daughter's opportunities.
There are so few opportunities available to young adults with disabilities when they leave school. It's an ugly world out there, and this was an opportunity.
All right, we're going to stop it there because I want to be able to go back and talk about some of those questions.
That just
give me a second. Okay, so we're going to go back to those questions that we looked at before.
look too good to be true,
Sorry.
and it has turned out to be absolutely.
There we go. Okay. So we saw the interns doing some pretty amazing things. Talk to me about examples of high expectations and some things that maybe you didn't even expect some of the interns to be doing. I'm looking at Cheryl. Help me out, Cheryl.
They're doing a lot of job responsibilities. 1 second. I had to close my door. The students are actually with Able, South Carolina, doing an activity, so I'm kind of back and forth. But anyway, a lot of the activities that young lady was doing are, well, not just the young lady, but the young guy as well, are some of the responsibilities that our students are doing. They're not jobs that were created for them, but they're important jobs that must be done in the hospital setting, no matter whether they're here or not. So the sterilizing of equipment, the stocking of equipment, things like that are so important to our program and evidently to their program as well.
And I don't know if you noticed, but at least one of the hospitals that they showed was a Bon Secours hospital, had the same logo that you have. So we saw several of the young people stocking in various places, whether it was kind of durable medical equipment or the young lady that they saw first, Ashley, she was stocking in the maternity ward. What, if that were your intern, where would you take them from here? Anybody? What might you do next for the third internship?
That intern could go to materials management, stock there. Actually, in any department, they could go to the pharmacy, anywhere where expiration dates, and that needs to go in order.
Thanks, Donna. I think so too. Thoughts about jobs? Like, quite a few of those young people were working in the hospital, but any thoughts about like where might you go look for employment based on what you saw?
You could go to any kind of distribution center or retail. I would
Right.
think.
Thinking about this fifth bullet, what skills should they be learning? Did you see any? I know the instructor mentioned quite a few, and she was doing that lesson with social skills and solutions. Remember, she kept talking about problem solving and solutions. What do you think about what other skills should they be learning to go along with those internships?
Time management.
Yes.
Like
No
that's
kidding.
a huge one.
They had a lot to do, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
So time management is a great one. Anything
Yeah.
else that you thought about that they could or should be learning? Karen, I'm looking at you and I'm pretty sure you're with Walmart, right? You know, when I think of, Donna said retail might be a good outlet for some of these young people. What do they need at Walmart to be able to be successful?
They've really got to be able to work with the customers, consumers very well. They need to really, this day and age, work on the hygiene, make sure everything's washed and clean. And then just following directions, following the tasks. Time management is a huge one.
Okay, so a couple people now have said time management. I would think the productivity has got to be really high.
Yeah.
To just kind of keep task to task to task.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. If you ever want to see that video, it's in our video library, and I think it really has a lot to do with high expectations. And I was so happy to see or to hear that Cheryl's students in Greenville are doing some of the very same things, because these are really high expectation kind of internships. So you've probably seen this slide or something like it in another project search training, and we use this a lot. So 5,000 foot would be our industry sector. So retail is an industry sector, and hospitality and healthcare, et cetera, et cetera. The 500 foot is your host site or the place where they end up working, the organization or the business where they end up working. The 50 foot level is the internship department analysis, and that's what we're going to talk about in a little bit. And then the 5 foot level is either the skill design, how am I going to teach it, or even the 1 foot level, the task analysis, if the intern is having trouble. If you notice that one skills trainer in the video talked about, I take each step and I break it down into small components and small steps. And then I take pictures of everything and I remove their tools as they don't need them anymore. And she did that so well. She kind of broke down her job. And those are the kind of things that you want to make sure are in place between the time you do the internship development and the first day of the internship, is create those pictures, create those task lists if they're picture lists, figure out where are you going to put them, how big are they going to be, do they match with the internship physical area, et cetera, et cetera. So when we think about that movie, or if we think about the young people that you're working with, that 5,000 industry sector, you know, what employment opportunities are there in your area? And then what skills are needed? So a couple of you mentioned time management, and a couple of you mentioned distribution centers or retail, knowing that we have the Walmart one in South Carolina. And Karen already talked to a couple things, and she talked about relating to customers. I think our young people get some of that in the hospital environment, talking to patients, families, coworkers. I think it's different in a retail environment where the customers are coming in to buy something, and it might be a different kind of interaction than in a hospital. The 500 foot work profile is either our host business or where they end up working. So what internship opportunities are available? We talked a lot about that last time. And how do we match the skills that they're going to learn with skills that they're going to need in integrated in employment? And again, problem solving, customer service, etc. Keep in mind that that video showed a lot of young people that actually worked at the host site, but it's not expected that they hire interns. They're only the learning platform. And I always think of it as a bonus when they hire the students. Hey, Cheryl, how many young people has Bon Secours hired?
We have 11 students working here now. From the first, this is our 4th year, so we have 11 students.
From
7 in the first class, 2 in the second, and 2 from this last year's class.
Okay, that's actually a lot. You're very, very lucky. You have a great host business. And sometimes we see that many or more, and sometimes we see a lot less. So the 50-foot level is that internship. Now, this is an industrial kitchen, of course. The ones we saw earlier were all hospital healthcare related. And then the 5-foot level, again, that task design. So we're going to talk about how do we prepare to train? How do we match interns to internships? How do we prepare managers and mentors? And how do we teach those employability skills? So this is a new form, and we touched on it a little bit last month when we talked about internship development, and you should have received this handout already. It is in the new essential documents on our, in the toolkit on the portal. So if you want to take down a clean copy of it or use the one you got today, either way. But when you want to document what you learn about the department, this is a great form and it covers everything. So how many coworkers are they? Managers, mentors, colleagues? What kind of supervision is already available, not counting yourselves? So are there a lot of staff in the department or not? Or because of COVID, maybe many of the people are home, working from home. So you can put numbers here, you can put names here. A lot of times people name their coworkers that they think are going to be really good mentors for the young people. You know, other departments that might touch that department or might come in contact with that during the internship. Are they going to have contact with the general public? So as Karen mentioned, they're going to have to talk to customers that come into the store or talk to patients and families that they might see in the hall, all of those kind of things. So it's really important that you fill out this form as well as you possibly can so that you understand the internship, especially if somebody else did the internship development. You want to be able to look at this form that they filled out and fill in any blanks that there might be. If you're the one that's going to go in and train that young person and you haven't been in that department yet, you want a copy of this form so that you can review this before you ever step foot in that department with your intern. And then of course, in a perfect world, you'd be able to go in before you and the intern go in together. So as we prepare to train, again, you want to get a really good understanding of that internship department and kind of recap what they did in internship development. Next, you're going to define that task list, just like her name was Frances that talked in the video when she said, I'm going to break it into small steps. I think she even used the word dissect. And I love that. She's really thinking about dissecting that job. So you're going to define those tasks to be learned. And you're also going to think about productivity, quality, and safety. When the job coach, Frances, talked in the movie, she said, I'm going to make a picture checklist. I'm going to take pictures of every step. And that's really an accommodation, right? You could do something like that too. The other thing we're going to talk about is layering the tasks. How do I layer on those tasks over those 10 weeks? So gaining an understanding of the department. So again, how much staff support? This is a picture of our emergency room at Cincinnati Children's. And we just went and took these pictures not too long ago. So everybody's wearing their mask. So we want to think about how do you communicate? This is a very busy emergency department. There's almost 60 rooms in it, all kinds of staff, technicians, admin people, nurses, doctors, etc. There might be a certification required. You want to find that out. So this is all kind of that intel that you want to make sure that you get between the time the internship was developed and the first time you walk in. Standing in the circle is just observation, that intense observation. So you're standing there, you're looking around, you're kind of seeing how busy is it? Again, how much supervision is there? How much movement is required? This young man's name is Eric in the red pants, and he is pushing that cart. So when I think about some of our interns, could they push that cart? Do they have the balance? Do they have the stamina? So you want to think about all of those kinds of things. So look around and imagine your intern in this environment, and how is he or she going to fare? What do they need? And then you're going to start to identify the tasks, as well as, again, those quality, productivity, and safety standards. Is there any worry that comes to your mind about any of those? So when I think about productivity, I think about pace. Can they keep up with what they need to? Quality, especially now with everything needing to be sanitized, are they going to be able to keep up that quality of cleanliness? And then safety standards. Are they wearing their mask? You know, in a very tight quarters like this, you might not be able to keep 6 feet away. So how do you do all that? So there's that extra layer that we have to think about during the pandemic. And then the Voc Fit demands. If you're using Voc Fit, how do you crosswalk those skills from the Voc Fit subscales? Especially in this one, I'd be thinking again about pace. I'd be thinking about safety. I'd be thinking about the physical movement. These two young men are placed in this environment. So Eric in the red pants and Paul in the green pants, and they between them have to get to 30 rooms each. So they have to get to all 60 rooms every day, stocking those and cleaning those rooms. That's a lot. And it sounds kind of simple. Well, I just would do 1 to 30 and Paul would do the other 1 to 30. Well, you can't really do it that way because there's going to be people in each room. So you're going to have to circle back and circle back until you get them all done. And then whenever it says non-work activities, those are things like staff meetings. So it's not really part of my daily schedule, but I still have to go to a staff meeting. And how does my intern going to act in that staff meeting? Or lunch. Now, right now, they're not eating lunch together. Cincinnati Children's is not allowing that. So they have to eat by themselves, which some people like and some people don't like. Non-work activity might be a department fundraiser or some kind of an event, even though there's not much of that happening right now. And then the transferability of tasks. You guys talked about that earlier. How do we transfer a skill that they might learn in the emergency department to a skill that they might use in pharmacy or materials management? And then that skill layering plan. How am I going to layer skills throughout the 10 weeks? So this slide talks about how does the intern add value? So is it something that the staff perceives as a good thing that these young interns are in their department? So here's just a few ways that they could add value. Now, they might not do all of these things in your departments, but hopefully they're doing some of this. So they're increasing customer service. For Eric and Paul, they're keeping it cleaner than it might have been without them. So they're decreasing backlogs. So now people can use rooms right away in the emergency department because they're getting in there and cleaning them, turning them over, getting them ready for the next person. They're going to perform but critical tasks. Again, turning over those emergency rooms for patients. They might complete tasks that highly paid staff were doing, and now they're doing those, allowing those highly paid staff to do the things that they do best: nursing, caring for patients, whatever that might be. They're impacting high turnover positions because they are, hopefully if they get hired in those areas, they're staying in those areas and doing those jobs for a long time. They might lessen workload fluctuations. So when things get really busy in a day or an evening, well, not evening, but during the day, they can keep that workload going and going and going. And then the mentor that's working with them, we're providing them some leadership opportunities to work with our young people. All right. Sorry, I'm having trouble going to the next slide. Can't get rid of this little. Well, we're going to stop sharing a minute. And I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint again. And now you probably can't see it. All right. Now you can see it. All right. So always keep the outcome of employment in your mind and in front of the interns. Always keep your eye on that prize of employment. So focus on those essential tasks that they're learning that can be transferred to other areas and departments and jobs, and focus on value added, like we just talked about, activities. If at all possible, you want to align yourselves with the training or the education department at your hospital, because it's going to give you more opportunities. They're going to see your students as interns and not volunteers. So align yourself with maybe nursing, or what at our hospital we call it allied health. And then use the department forms that other departments use to begin with, and then adapt it from there. So if they have standard operating procedures, ask to see those so that you can decide if those steps are small enough, or if those standard operating procedures are something that your young person can understand. Do you have to adapt it, or can you just use it as is? If you have a really strong reader, maybe you don't need to adapt things. If you have a non-reader, you're probably going to have to do lots of adapting. All right, so let's think about the tasks that the interns need to perform during their internship. So why do we have to even define them? So we want those interns to learn the complex skills correctly, so that we have to teach it correctly from the beginning, so that if we don't understand the flow of the tasks, our interns aren't going to understand it either. So again, that's why I really like that Frances said, I dissect those tasks. We want to have those steps laid out for us. We're going to lay them out ourselves, and then that'll be helpful as we present them to the interns. If you can perform that task, it's also going to provide confidence to the department that you're competent and you can complete that task. And if the coworkers know that you can complete it, then they'll know that you can train the intern to complete it. So you want to watch them do it, then do the task with them watching you, so that they know that you can do that particular skill or task. So again, identify what tasks you're going to teach and learn, and then review that task with the manager or mentor. Have them watch you do it. Ask them to give you pointers to be more productive or build more quality in. Sometimes they know all kinds of things about those tasks that you might not have picked up yet. Little tricks and tips that will help you to build in maybe a faster pace, or to do it a little better or neater, or with more just getting it done the best way possible. We're going to watch a star performer in a minute, but ask them if you can watch who's the best person that you have in this department that can do this. So I was thinking about Karen a few minutes ago at Walmart, and you know, you've walked into places like that where they have shirts or sweatshirts or sweaters lined up and they look perfect. How do you get them to look so perfect in that stack? I would ask, can I watch somebody who's really, really good at that folding? Can I watch them so that I learn the best way possible? And then again, complete it yourself. Ask them to watch you and give you feedback on how you performed that task. So what's next? Again, decide the tasks, and then you're going to break them down into smaller steps. You want to establish a standard. You want to establish that you're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so that it's repeatable, so that when you're gone and you're not with that intern, they're still going to do it step by step by step. When you determine that standard with a group of people, not just one person, start with people who already do it. That star performer, the manager, a mentor, a coworker. So find out what that standard is and talk about it with several people who it's part of their job. Sometimes people give you a different interpretation of that task depending on who they are, where they are in the chain of things that's getting done, and they'll give you kind of a more well-rounded picture of that task if you start talking to different people about it. Some people might emphasize cleanliness. Some people might emphasize productivity. Some people might emphasize the employability skills that go along with that. So the more people you talk to, the bigger the group of people that you talk to about that task, the more information that you're going to get to make your training meaningful to the intern. And again, ask the department if they already have ways to break that task down. Sometimes they have flowcharts or pictures. And if so, use it to create your task list. So stable and repeatable, we talk about that a lot. Like, how do you make a task that might have judgment included in it, or it seems more complex? How do you make those complex tasks more routine? The best way is just to create a process that we're always going to do it. Step 1, 2, 3, 4. And then build in cues and prompts. Again, it could be a picture, but it could be a prompt or a cue that's already embedded in the task. the best way I think about that these days is your phone. Your phone has all kinds of cues that you don't even think about because you use your phone all the time. So I bet all of you have a weather app and you're using it now all the time because it's winter and we're getting bad weather. And my weather app has a cloud and a sun on it. So I know right away that that's the one I want to go to if I want to know if we're going to get snow tonight or if it's going to be cold and can I walk outside or whatever I want to know about the weather. So that's a cue to me that that's the app I want to go to. It's blue, it has a white cloud, it has a yellow sun on it. That's my cue and it's built in. I don't have to ask anybody. That's always what it looks like. You can embed directions in things. I'm going to show you a really cool example in a minute. You could add a picture, you could add a sign, you could add a checklist. In the video that we watched a few minutes ago, if you notice, the very first young lady, Ashley, had a checklist and she was marking things off as she went along. You could also establish a flow chart. Some people really love flow charts. I go here, I go here, I go here, I do this, I do this. Add some guidelines if you need to. You can't, again, right now, we have lots of guidelines, right? Wear your mask, 6 feet apart, social distancing, only face this way when you're eating. There's all kinds of guidelines that we have, and you can always add guidelines to a task. If you look at this young lady over here that's working on these slides, right up along almost like the backsplash, she's got some little cues that are telling her where to put certain slides. So that's already embedded for her to be able to either find the slides or replace the slides, take slides in and out, and that's helping her to stay organized. So there's all kinds of little ways that you can add those cues and prompts. A lot of managers will say, well, I really don't want the intern to do certain things because there's too much judgment involved. And again, we want to think about a different way to take the judgment out so that they can do more complex tasks. And here's one way to think about it. So here's a young person. This is a hospital in Idaho, actually, at a hospital called Kootenai Health. And this young lady is taking wheelchairs and transporting patients either out, they're leaving the hospital, they're being discharged, or maybe she's taking them to an appointment within the hospital like radiology. So when we think about this, all right, so this is patient transport. So here's my flow chart to take the judgment out. So she might wear a pager, or she might have a headset, and she gets the dispatch order from a manager. All right, if there's no order, we don't want her just standing around. We want her to be active. We want her to have something to do. So if there's no current order, she can go collect wheelchairs. And you probably all know where wheelchairs end up. They end up in the lobby, they end up in the parking lot, they end up all around the hospital. So collect the wheelchairs that aren't being used and bring them back to a central place. If there is an order, she goes to the patient room. She washes her hands, she greets the patient, she checks and makes sure it's the correct patient by looking at their bracelet. If it's not the patient that she was supposed to get, incorrect patient, she radios the manager. If it is correct, then I take the patient to the prescribed location. I check with the department to see if they're ready to receive my patient. And then I leave the patient in care of that department. And I ask them whether or not I can leave or do I need to wait. And they'll tell me which one I need to do. If the department is not ready for the patient, then I report to my manager and I take direction from him or her. And then I might return them to their room, or I'll do whatever that manager tells me. So now there's not a lot of judgment involved. I've got a flow of what I do. If it's incorrect, I do this. If it's correct, I do this. So think about a task or a job that somebody has said to you, I really don't want the interns doing that because there's too much judgment involved. Is there something that you could do to create a task list that would take the judgment out? Does anybody have any ideas? Tina, you're looking very pensive. Or maybe you're just thinking. So any tasks that you can think of that you might have to create a flow chart like this in order to have your patients or have your interns be more ready to do this kind of work? Thoughts?
We had to do one in environmental services. We also had to do something like this in acute care, where they had to assemble admission kits and things like that. We also had to do one a couple of years ago for the dietary needs, when the intern was going up and checking nourishments in the different departments.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, just having that flow chart helps to take the judgment out and helps you to know that they're going to be all right if they understand kind of the if then. If this happens, then I do that. If that happens, then I do this other thing. All right. So So you want to kind of go on a fact-finding mission. We talked about SOPs already, but are there some training methods that already exist to teach this task? Is there a training video? Is there one person in the department that always does the training? Is there a class that they should take? Is there a certification that they need to go through? And then what tools already exist? Are there pictures? Are there job aids? And then what natural cues exist to make this task easier to remember? So thinking about all of these things before you even start your task list, to know what accommodations or what training aids you might come up with to help your interns. Then you're going to actually create your task list. You're going to, so this is a task list of a waiting area, maybe same day surgery waiting area. And this is the task list that the young people would do. I check the water coolers, I gather the children's books, I wipe them down with disinfectants, I return the books, I make the coffee, I clean the coffee area with wipes, I check the paper level, I check the toner, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to create that task list to document the tasks to teach. Typically that task list is for the on-site team, not the intern, unless they're a really good reader. A task list is really for you to know what comes next, and then be able to fill it out. There's another column next to it to create my high, some, and lows, and say what date it was and take notes and all of that other thing. So this is really for you. Again, unless the person's just a really good reader and they can do this on their own, that task list is helpful for you to be able to do the teaching. There's also going to be a quality standard, a productivity, and a safety standard built in that you want to look at and know about it before you start teaching. So what's my goal in terms of quality, productivity, and safety? We are going to watch a video about cleaning a hotel room, and certainly a lot about safety and quality engaged in this. I don't know if any of you have internships where the young people clean rooms, but sometimes there's a standard, either a hospitality standard or a hospital standard of how long they should take. You always want to know those kinds of timings so that you can work toward that productivity standard. So how are we going to track progress? So again, this is the picture of the task list, and this was sent to you ahead of time. So, and we are promoting that instead of a number system or a plus or minus, that we start tracking progress in terms of high, some, and lows that VocaFit uses. So if I was working with Diane, let's say, and we were learning some tasks, I would put the date in here, right? 2/9. Hopefully I'd be face-to-face, or maybe I'm still virtual. And then as she did her tasks, if she was unable to perform this task to any kind of standard, I would give her an L for low. If she just needed some support, then an S. And if she could perform the task independently to the standard, whether it was the productivity or the quality standard, then I would give her that H for high. So we would like you to start using those things. If your team still decides, I still want to use a plus or a minus, or I still want to use a numbering system, that's fine too. But we're just trying to get people in that mindset of high, some, and low to go along with the VocaFit. So we just talked about what that looks like, but really thinking about that high, some, and low to measure your students. I am not looking at the chat, but if anybody needs to, needs to ask a question that's related to this information, please just raise your little hand, that hand signal, or shout it out, and that'll be fine. All right, we talked about layering of tasks earlier. So what are the tasks that are really important? You probably want to start with those tasks. They're going to be determined by the manager or mentor. The complexity, you might wait for a task that's really complex to layer on later. If a task takes really long to teach, you might teach that over time. So I might teach a little bit of it week 1 and 2, and then maybe a little bit more as we move through the 10-week period. You obviously you're going to think about the ability of the intern. Can they do this task? How long will it take them to learn it? And then thinking about just what's sometimes the natural order of the task forces you to teach some things first and some things second and some things third. And that's fine. I mean, it just might have to go in a certain way. And then that means some more complex tasks might be first, just because. And then also, what's your staffing availability? If you have everybody out at once in the beginning of the internship, you might not be able to teach more complex tasks because you just don't have the time to do it. Everybody's out and about with all the interns. And so you might have to teach more basic tasks first and keep some of the more difficult tasks for later. If you've got a mentor though, that says, hey, I've got some extra time, I'd like to teach Donna how to do such and such. Great, go for it. Let them work on that if you think that they are competent with your intern. So we're going to think about determining quality, productivity, and safety. So just, we're going to watch this video. So this is actually a housekeeping video from a hotel. It's not a project search video at all. And I want you to think about what are the tasks that she's doing? Does there seem to be an order to it? And then what's the quality standards, the productivity standards, the safety standards that it seems like that she is meeting? Whoops, sorry. So here's what she needs to get started. She's loading her cart. So that might be your very first task. So if you're keeping track of kind of what she's been doing so far, so she was filling her cart with all her needed supplies. She uses her key card to make sure nobody's in there. She opens the door. She propped it open with the little triangle thing. She turns on the lights and opens the window shades. Any guesses about why she does that?
I would think with the lights, just to make sure that they're working, the light bulbs, and then with same like with the window, you're getting the best light coming into the room, so you're going to get things the cleanest as long as you have the most lights on.
Yeah, my guess is that's as well. I've watched this video now maybe 10 times, maybe more. What I just noticed is that those little blue checks and the little red X's, right? At one point, they wanted her to spray directly in the sink and not on the washcloth for the bathroom. Now they want her to spray on the cloth to wipe the furniture. That might be confusing to our interns, so we might have to create a little accommodation so that she knows in one room you spray directly in the sink, in the other room you spray directly on your cloth. So this video shows that. So we're either going to have to watch this a couple times with our intern and or make some cues and clues to help them remember some of this. There's a lot to this job. And when we think about layering, you could really layer this skill or this whole job over the 10 weeks. I'm going to stop it. We're only about halfway through, but I think you get the gist. One of the things I love about this video is this was produced obviously by the people that made the cleaning products, probably in concert with the hotel. But it's got tons of information without ever saying a word. The blue arrows, if you noticed, that went down. So they want her to start at the top of the cabinet and work her way down. There's just all kinds of really great nonverbal information here that you could use and without you ever having to create this video. So that's what we mean when ask about other training videos that already exist. So lessens your work and it keeps you in line with what the organization needs. And I think it gives great ideas on just directions and how to do certain things. I think it's pretty awesome. I wish I was just thinking of different things where they show like spraying in the sink and then the next one was an X on it, like don't do it this way, but not this way. So lots of great ideas on how to set up that training so that it's most effective and easier for you, frankly, and easier for the intern as well. Whoops.
Susie, it's Cheryl. Is that video available?
Well, it's embedded in the PowerPoint. It should be. If you need me to send you the link, I can. Okay. So sorry, we're still working on correcting this this PowerPoint. Just don't think this is quite clear enough. But anyway, so kind of back to quality, productivity, and safety standards. So this is the task list that would have resulted from watching this video. So again, this was one of our UK people that did that. So we wouldn't call it a trolley. We might call it a cart, but same kind of thing. Collect the cart, check the level of all your sprays, the Comet, the Spick and Span, the Febreze, etc. Collect the clean cloths. It looked like she needed a red, yellow, and a blue. But this is very, very specific. Again, this is for you, not necessarily the intern. And this is going to help you to make sure she does that in the specific order that they're supposed to do it in. All right, we're going to watch one more video. I am just going to assume that you guys will take a break if you need it. If you need a comfort break, if you need to get a drink, go to the bathroom, go for it. All right, we talked earlier about the star performer. So who's the star performer? It's the person that does, might not be the manager. It may not be the supervisor. It may be just a coworker who happens to just be fabulous at that job. So ask them, you don't even have to use the word star performer. You could say, who's really, really good in this department at quality or productivity, or who's your fastest, or who's the person that you think does this the best. So we're going to watch this video and thinking about quality, productivity, and safety, and also think about how you would layer this tasks. Now, what we're watching is a woman in central supply or central surgical services, where they're building the carts for surgery. And she is cleaning instruments, and she's cleaning and then sorting. So these are instruments that have come back after a surgery, and she is making sure that they're all there, because if they're not, we all know that that's really, really bad, right? That means that they're left somewhere. We hope not in a really bad place, but and so she's checking them all back in, and then she's starting to clean them. So we're going to watch this. This is in a hospital in England. So you might hear some people talking, and it might have those wonderful accents.
That takes time to build up, doesn't it? Yeah. Probably takes 4 years, so
So she's just sorting right now, and she's checking her list to see how many are there. Okay, I want to stop right here. So this is a natural cue in this task. So if you see where it says water line, that is showing her how high up to fill that sink. So how great is that for our interns? You don't even have to make a judgment of how high to fill the sink. It tells me right there how high to fill the sink. Because sometimes our interns, or even any of us, might get overzealous and fill it to the top. Well, then if you do that and you start getting your hands in there and scrubbing things, water is going to go everywhere. So that's just one simple way to embed a cue that helps everybody and helps save water, keeps it cleaner, etc. She's checking that list to make sure they're all there. How many clamps, how many scalpels, how many this or that. And she's opening them too, so that when they get the next cleaning process, it'll kind of open them up to get the debris off.
So is it several sets that have come in and you have to count them into the right pick list?
Yes. Some of the trays from Mayfair, so they'll come down and wipe hands, because they'll use more than one tray in an operation, and they might put some into one of them.
So this is even what we might call standing in the circle. So Anne, one of our staff, is standing there watching her. And you can see that Anne's only asking a few questions. She's really just watching, trying to soak up as much information about this task as she possibly can, but then clarifying when she needs an answer to a question she might have. Oh, I think I started it all over. So we'll get to maybe this part.
Some of the trays from Mayfair, so they'll come down and wipe. You put them into dirty section, which is the first stage, then the fourth section. That's basically you'll take the tray into the washer, make sure it's all there, and then go to put this one in, has it all there. Ready for the washer.
So she's entering it into the computer now as kind of that final safety check. So again, watching that person that's really, really good at this particular task gives you all kinds of ideas about cues in the task, speed, pace, quality. If you noticed when she was scrubbing that one instrument, she spent a lot of time on that, whatever that was. I don't know what that was exactly, but she spent a lot of time getting that really clean. So I'm sure there are certain things she's looking for when she's cleaning that, certain debris, maybe amount of blood, whatever body fluids she has to look for. And it might not be for all of your interns to do. Maybe some of them maybe can't handle that. But I think some of our interns really like these kinds of tasks. And they're very specific. And if you can talk about the meaning behind the task, that, we want the next person that gets these instruments for it to be perfect and it to be clean, because these instruments are going to help you get better for whatever kind of surgery that you're having. All right. So if you were watching, you would be, again, defining those tasks, identifying that standard operating procedure, and then again, I would be asking questions about quality, productivity, safety, and then I would be thinking about how am I going to layer those next tasks, and which ones. I don't know that some seemed harder than the others, but she was doing a lot, and she was really quick. Even she was quick at even just opening those clamps, which was pretty amazing. All right. So I'm a little nervous. It's 3:18 and we're only on part 2. I think there's 4 parts. So part 2, we're going to think about now. So in part 1, we talked about the tasks, finding different things in your department that can help you lay out the tasks, thinking about quality, productivity, et cetera. Now we're going to think about which interns go with which internships. So first of all, you have to know your intern. And there's a quick little acronym that you can use called SNAP: their strengths, their needs, their abilities, and their preferences. And obviously by this time in the school year, in a more typical year, you would know all of that, right? You would know their strengths, their needs, their abilities, their preferences, but you really want to understand them. And then you could use that Voc Fit to match them for their internships. You can measure skills gain by using the Voc Fit toward employment. And we're going to talk about the value of a good match, a good internship to intern match, and the not so great value of a bad match. So here's our snap. So our strengths, our needs, our abilities, our preferences, and we can get some of this information from the Voc Fit. Maybe their employment goal, their preferences are going to maybe come out in their employment goal or their learning styles. We can reference things like documentation that we've gathered earlier. Maybe when they first came in for their first internship, we might have used that applicant rubric or a task list template for their internship, their first or second internships. Formal evaluations, maybe if you have access to their IEP, or maybe their evaluation team report, or just information that was gathered during their employment planning meeting, maybe remarks that family members said, or that the intern said to his mom or dad or Voc rehab counselor, or somebody at the meeting that they made a comment about a job that they want, or how much they like their internship, or maybe how much they don't like their internship. And then you can determine a lot of these just through observation, especially during those first couple of weeks when they're with you all day long during orientation. So I'm gonna give a scenario and would really enjoy some feedback from you. So thinking about that we're matching our intern to the internship. Think of if you've ever had an intern like this. We've got Alex. Alex likes to work with animals, or he says he wants to. He doesn't have much work experience in this arena, but he does like taking his dog for a walk, and he often takes his neighbor's dogs for walks when he has free time. So we want to explore with Alex what he likes about walking the dog. Does he just like being outside? Does he just like helping his neighbors? Does he like being active? What about patient transport? Would that match his preferences and his abilities toward employment? What do you think about that match? Anybody?
I mean, I wouldn't have thought about it, but I mean, that is a pretty good connection, you know, if you think about it, you know, that if he's going to be in a hospital setting, it's one of the closest. Yeah, he might enjoy doing that.
It gets at his helping if that's what he likes.
And being active and moving around, and yeah.
Anybody else? What would you do if you had a kid like Alex? Donna, you're muted, but I want to hear.
Plant ops might be a good place for him, or if the lawn maintenance isn't, you know, out, he could do lawn. Or I think plant ops would be a good thing though, because he's traveling around the hospital, he's outdoors, and he's helping.
I hadn't even thought of that. That's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
Tina, you want to jump in?
Like she said, he likes being outside and everything. Then too, he likes transporting or helping. So I would think either one of those would be a possibility for the intern.
Okay, great ideas. Anybody else? Okay, all right. Well, thank you. Donna, I love your ideas, especially the plant ops one. Like you said, he's active, he'd be doing stuff. All right, now let's think about Andrew. He wants to work in retail. He already has a part-time job at the local grocery store bringing in carts. He loves to interact with customers, and sometimes he gets to bag groceries when all the carts are in. But during orientation, you notice that he's really good at data entry. What would you do with Andrew?
I would think along the lines of materials management would be good for Andrew, because at some points they do have to log data as far as what they stock or supply. So I think that would be a good option.
Okay, and it would help him get around.
Yeah.
Move around the facility a little bit like he did when he brought in carts. But I love your idea of incorporating that data entry in. Anybody else?
I don't know if a lot of hospitals would do this, still have like gift shops, but like he could do something in the retail, but do inventory and write down inventory that they may need for the gift shops, or maybe even for just even in any of the cafeteria areas and stuff, just because they, you know, at McLeod, I know they have Starbucks and different ones over there that they may need some additional help too.
Yeah. Okay, great. And then the last one is Grace. And we've all had interns like Grace, right? She wants to work, but she has no idea what she wants to do. She worked in her school cafeteria, but she can't really tell you that she liked it or not. You've had those students that say, did you like that?
I would really try to find out what it is they personally themselves like, you know, about what they do, find out, you know, a little bit about what they have done, and then try to place them into something that fits that category.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Other thoughts, Donna, that you've done before?
With Grace, I think I would put Grace, maybe start her off in central billing. Because it's somewhat isolated at times, but then again, she does get to go out and about because she's got to deliver and pick up mail, or deliver and pick up labs. She does some clerical work. But at this, she is doing a lot of interacting, but this person had some isolated time as well. And she was exposed to doing, working with equipment, office equipment. So there was a variety of things in there that she could be exposed to.
I like your thinking, Donna, and then you could start having her self-reflect every day about which some of those tasks that she liked and what she didn't like, and maybe build some competence in some of those areas. Hopefully.
Susie?
Yeah?
Susie, I think I would put her in materials management at our hospital, because that group, they go around the entire hospital and they get to see everything.
Wow.
And for some of our interns who didn't have preferences, all of a sudden they'll be like, oh, well, today I went to this place and this is what they were doing. So internship 1, they're getting good basic skills that transfer to different departments and then jobs after project search, but they also are doing a lot of exploration.
That's great, Wendy. I like your thinking about going to the different, she gets to see different areas, and maybe that would spark some interest too. You guys have really good ideas. All right, so sometimes it's just bouncing it off each other or thinking about kind of what's out there and what fits, and always thinking about what's going to take them to that next level of a job. So thanks, Wendy. Whoops, going the wrong way. All right, and then you might even fill something out like this on those snaps, you know, what are Alex's strengths? What are Andrew's strengths, Grace's strengths? And you might not be able to fill this all out at the beginning. This might take you a little while, and it might take your whole team to brainstorm what are their strengths, their needs, their abilities, their preferences. All right, skill building towards employment. So how do we build those transferable skills through the internships? And you guys were actually just talking about this, building up over time. And you're always thinking about transferable skills. So teaching skills that are going to match the needs of employers that are out there. I'm like you, Wendy. I love materials management. It's got so many facets and it leads to so many different jobs, because you do have to have interaction. You have to be active. You have to walk around. You have to interact with the different departments, but you also have to be pretty productive and get those orders exactly correct. And there's some technology to it. You're entering that into the computer. So there's a lot of transferable skills in materials management, and it can relate to lots of different kinds of work, whether it's retail or logistics or whatever. So going back to that one slide we saw at the beginning, just a different way to think about it. What's at the 5,000 foot level in your area? Is there distribution? Is there retail? Is there healthcare? And then what tasks can you teach at your host site that can go then back out to the community jobs? So just thinking about it internally and then externally as well. All right, so now we're thinking about that 5 foot level. So I'm thinking about actually doing the training. And most of us are learning at the 5 foot level. So I'm about 5 feet away from somebody and they're showing me something, or they're demonstrating, or they're standing next to me. And if I can't learn it from just standing next to someone or standing a few feet away, then maybe they move closer and they're really, really watching maybe over my shoulder, or I'm over their shoulder. So there's that kind of anywhere between kind of 10 and 1 foot teaching going on. So we're going to use VocFit, and we're going to explore all the possibilities of the internships. So that yellow circle is there for a reason, because we also want to think about the yellow skills that come out in VocFit. So the green, as we know, are already the things that they can do and that they can do independently. The yellow skills are those emerging skills where they have some level of ability, but they're not independent at all. So all of those yellow skills are skills that we want to address and teach during the internship. And you're going to do that with the whole team. So because each of these bars of yellow skills probably represents 20 or 30 skills. And you can't start with 20 or 30 skills, but you could go to the manager and show them that list of what these skills are, and they can help determine which ones are most important to teach in that internship. All of these are great profiles for your intern because there's lots of anchoring skills or skills that they already know. And there's a lot of yellow emerging skills that I can layer on and teach during those 10 weeks. And I might even hit a few of these red, but I've got so many yellow to teach, I probably don't even need to, unless it's critical to the job. So you want to work with your team again to intentionally place students that have yellow skills. Again, you don't want a profile that doesn't have any yellow skills because you want things to be able to teach. So the yellow, again, are the emerging skills, and the orange and red are where they just have low ability. Maybe they haven't done any of those skills yet or haven't had success doing them. And then remember that just right challenge, not too easy, not too hard. If you're using the VocFit, keep in mind that it doesn't tell you exactly what to do. It serves as a communication tool to help your whole team balance their interns, their skills, and their learning needs, and kind of balance that snap also, their strengths, their needs, their preferences, and their abilities. That just right challenge, again, is going to help you start from their strengths, start with the green, those anchoring skills, add more emerging skills as you're going through the 10 weeks. And if possible, it might not be possible, you might not have time, continually add tasks that they struggle with. And then eventually you might even be able to get to some red skills. You might not. You might just concentrate here and maybe a few orange skills. And that's absolutely fine. Like we said, I'm going to go back one more time to this. This probably represents about 100 skills, this whole line. So you can't get to everything, but I might be able to get to, I don't know, 15 or 20 of these emerging skills possibly, and maybe a couple of these. All right, we talked about what's the value of a good match versus a bad match. So if I have a really good match, a good intern to internship match, increased intern confidence in themselves and their ability to do the work, increase department confidence in project search. They're like, oh, wow, they gave us a great intern. He's really learning. And confidence in your on-site team, in your instructor and your skills trainers. Positive skill development for the intern. The intern's learning skills and you're proving the value of the intern. If you make a bad match, obviously you're decreasing your intern confidence in themselves and maybe even in the program. You're decreasing the department confidence on that internship match and on your on-site team. There's a possibility that you could lose that internship. They might say, you know, this wasn't a good match. This wasn't a good experience. We don't really want to participate anymore. And it could spread to other departments. So thinking about good matches and bad matches, any other things that we should put on this table?
Sometimes, Susie, when you have a really, really good match, the intern doesn't want to leave that internship to go to the other internship. So therefore it makes it very difficult.
Right. I didn't think of that, but you're right. And they don't want them to leave either because they're doing so great. They're like, can she just stay?
Absolutely.
Good point. Sometimes a good internship match will lead to a hire.
Yes.
And that's perfect. That's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else about good matches or bad matches?
Say you find yourself in a bad match. What do you do then?
Good question. What do you do then? My theory is misery is optional. So you don't necessarily want to leave a miserable situation for 10 whole weeks. But on the other hand, I want to give Tina more than one day. If Tina comes back at the end of the day and says, hate my internship, don't make me go back there. Well, I probably am going to make her go back for at least a little bit of time to see if we can work it out. But if we're still having a hate relationship after 2 weeks, then I'm probably going to look for a new opportunity. I don't want Tina to suffer for 10 weeks, and I don't want all those people around Tina to suffer either. So I think there's a balance of, I don't know, maybe a good 10 days worth of work, and then try to get some positive skills gained during that time so that Tina's more excited about it. Sometimes it's the work, and of course we all know sometimes it's just the kind of the situation that we're in. All right, good thoughts. All right, part 3. How do we prepare managers and mentors for this experience? I know you guys know all this stuff, but I do want to talk about this new manager and mentor guide that we just did, and we just uploaded into something called Essential Documents. It's on the portal and it's in the toolkit, and it's under Essential Documents. And this is about 9 pages. I don't think it's not super long, but it's got some really good basic information in it that you might want to use with your managers and mentors. You might need some disability awareness training. One of my favorite websites is the Ask Jan, the Job Accommodation Network. They've got some really great information about how to do some disability awareness. So you might think about using, just spending some time on Ask Jan. Everything's free too. It's a government organization. Ocali is actually an Ohio autism training site. They've got some really great information. And then the Department of Labor, you can always go to ODEP and look for some things too. Sometimes your state VR has some good information for employers. I don't know about Intact. I don't know if they've got some stuff or not. That might be another one to look at, but a lot of your departments just want information. Sometimes they want specific information, like tell me about Donna. And you have to be really careful about how much you can share without going kind of overboard. The best way, if they said, ask me about Donna, I'd take Donna with me. And that way Donna can share what she wants to share. And you're not worried about confidentiality or anything like that. A lot of times if they say, tell me about Donna, they really don't want to know. I don't think they care so much about Donna's diagnosis. They really want to know about how Donna learns. And those are things you can certainly share. Okay. So when you're working with an intern and these are just a few tips that are in this manager mentor guide. So it talks about giving additional wait time, asking open-ended questions, using pictures, be concise and consistent. So this guide that we've put together, again, can be very, very helpful. It's a Word doc, so you can manipulate it. You can make it shorter, longer, add stuff, take stuff out. We want you to use it, but we want you to make it work for you. You could put your logo on the front, your logo banner of all your partners. You could insert pictures. You could do anything you want with it, but we think it's a good tool to use as is or for you to manipulate and make personal. So we just wanted to really show you that and show you that it's there, but also to check out other things. There's an old video that's actually really, really fun called The 10 Commandments of Interacting with People with Disabilities. If you've never seen it, you should check it out. It's old, but it's really fun. It's about 30 minutes and it talks about how to interact with people with disabilities. And it does some funny, like things not to do and things to do. And that could be something that you could do at a lunch and learn. You could show it and then talk about the scenarios. All right, how are we doing on time? Okay, so we're talking about interviews. Hopefully all of you are doing this, but this is just a reminder to make sure that your intern interviews for the job matching process, making sure that those interns are, once they've decided on where they want to go for their internship, they should each interview for their internship. Why? Because you want them to have some interview practice, but you also want, at the end of the day, you want those managers to have the final say over who they're going to take into their internships. So it's an opportunity for them to meet the candidate and it's an opportunity for the intern to practice. There are some sample questions in that manager and mentor guide. So you can give them that guide and then they can pick the questions that they want. It doesn't have to be long. It could be 10 or 15 minutes. So they don't have to take like a whole hour to interview the candidates. And then the mentor should contact directly the intern or you as the instructor or skills trainer to let them know that they're formally accepting them into their program. I don't know if you guys do this, but I've been to a couple of reveal activities. It's really fun and it can be very professional and short. So all the managers come to your classroom for 15 minutes and some of them have like a folder, or I've seen others that have an envelope and they pull the envelope out and they said, we welcome Tina Ford into our internship for the next 10 weeks. And then people clap and then they do the next one and the next one. It's really short and sweet, but it's a nice way to engage all of your managers and mentors. And it's a fun little celebration and it doesn't have to be long. It really could be 30 minutes or less. You don't have to do food or anything. It's just kind of a fun way to kind of say at the end who's going to be where. Some of you guys do these, but I love one-page profiles. So these are where when the internship departments want to know about the interns, this is a great way to give them information. So, and maybe some of you already do these, but the other really great things about intern profiles is that they can change over time. So here's a young man, right? JT. And so just some fun facts about him. And this could help you kind of create a relationship with JT from the beginning. He's caring, he likes to play video games, he likes animals, and he likes lobster, which I think is hysterical for a high school kid, but whatever, right? So he's all actually from Connecticut, so maybe they eat more lobster than we do. We don't eat lobster in the Midwest. It's too expensive. But anyway, so now I've got a couple of things that I can talk to him about. I might ask him what his favorite video game is, or I might ask him where he goes to get his lobster, or what's his favorite restaurant. And then, but what I also really like is the next part. I need concrete instruction. I need clarification. It's easier for me to read text if it's at least 16 point. So now I've got some really specific things that I know if I use these things, I can be more successful with JT. Now, the next time I put this out, this might be for the first internship. The next time I took this out or print this out, I might add, for my first internship, I was in materials management. I learned to do blah, blah, blah. Maybe I don't put the fun facts anymore. Maybe now I put things about my internship and my skills. And maybe this one-page profile becomes more professional and more like a resume as I go through the year. I like the end, the strengths. I am outgoing. I'm a fast learner. I learn from constructive criticism. I can complete multiple step things. So, I mean, this is really, really good. It gives a lot of information. So if they said back to me, I want to know about JT, here you go. There's lots of things that that can help you. And what would be even better is if JT would even go to the department and review this with them, and then they can ask him questions and he can answer anything that he's comfortable with or not, right? So anyway, just, I don't know if you're doing these. I think they're fabulous, and I've seen them all different, laid out all different ways. I think the pictures are great. That always helps. And then if I see JT in the hall, I recognize him. So anyway, I think these are wonderful. Here's some other kind of tips and tricks about these one-page profiles. And again, put their strengths, their abilities, their skills, prior work experience, preferences, hobbies. So just all kinds of things you could put in that update, in that profile. Modeling. Modeling is probably one of the very best ways to teach a new skill. When we teach each other things, that's typically what we do, right? I show you how to do it, and then hopefully Donna learns, and if she doesn't, she asks me questions. And we're going to use that same way when teaching our new skills. And I think that's one thing to share with managers and mentors. I think sometimes they think there's like a secret recipe. And if you only know it, like only Donna knows how to teach a person with a disability. She has all the magic. So I think we need to dispel that myth that there's no magic involved. There might be knowledge involved, but there's no magic. And they're going to learn the same way you learn. And it might maybe take a couple more practice times, or maybe I need to do some hand over hand, or maybe I need more time, but basically modeling and demonstration is still going to work. We want to make sure that we create a safe space with the department so that we can share training tips with them. They can help us learn about unwritten rules, and we can always talk about honest feedback. That honest feedback is probably one of the most important things that we're going to gain from the department. And so if I say, how's Donna doing? And they say, Donna's doing fine. And they always say that she's doing fine. Well, she's probably not always doing fine. So how can I get really good feedback about Donna? I have to create a safe space where they feel like it's okay to share. So you might share too. Hey, I tried this thing with Donna the other day. Didn't work at all. You have any ideas? And then maybe they'll feel more comfortable telling you if sometimes they think that you don't always have it perfect. And again, together you're going to support that goal of employment. This is, I want to share this picture because it's really actually a very cool thing that happened. So this is a big distribution center in Texas at a place called Sanmar, and they make sporting good clothing. So like your sweatshirts and your zip up fleeces and things like that, they make and distribute. They make like a lot of the Columbia things that you might buy, and not the higher end, kind of that middle of the road sporting goods. So they recycle a lot of their boxes, and they were all having trouble with not only do they recycle them, but then once they have to look at the box and decide whether it can be recycled. And if it can, then they have to measure the box, and it goes in different piles. So the teacher made this jig for the young people to measure the boxes with, which box goes where. And it was super helpful for the interns. Well, what the teacher didn't know is that Sanmar liked it so much that they recreated it and put it different places throughout the distribution center so that everybody could use this jig. That's, to me, that's when you've really made it. Like, you've made something that can be used throughout the organization. You've done a great job, because now they're using it for everyone and it's become universal. So anyway, I just wanted to share that story because I think it's such a cool story, and maybe you've had similar things happen in your hospital. We did something at Cincinnati Children's once. We had a young man that was stacking cups by the water cooler in the cafeteria so that anybody can get free water. And he liked to stack the cups as high as he could, kind of to show people like how cool he was. But then what would happen is that people would take a cup and all the cups would fall down and it would just be a big mess. So we just put a wallpaper border up, and he couldn't stack the cups any higher than the wallpaper border. And he would try to get them even so that they looked nice. And that was his next thing, instead of stacking them super high. And then everybody used that wallpaper border. So that was the cue to everybody that stacked cups, that they tried to get them even with the wallpaper border. So again, just some universal design of an accommodation that can help everyone be successful is a great win for you. All right, let's see how we're doing on time. All right, we've got about 8 minutes left. This last part is teaching employability skills. This is actually a young intern from Tennessee. He's obviously working in kind of durable medical equipment or maybe materials management. We'll see, maybe we can get through a couple of these slides. So when we think about teaching employability skills, we have to think about what skills do our interns need. Somebody said before about customer service. All those communication skills are so important. So what do they need? When are you going to teach them? And who's going to do the teaching? Well, your first reaction might be, well, who's going to do the teaching? The instructors, of course. Yeah, but everybody can help teach employability skills. The managers, the mentors, the skills trainers, the business liaisons, everybody can help reinforce and teach employability skills. You just need to create the opportunity to make that happen. I found this on Indeed.com, and what are the 10 employability skills that employers are looking for? And this was based on like 22 million responses that they got. So first one, communication, not surprising. Teamwork, reliability, problem solving, organizational skills, initiative skills, self-management, we could call that self-advocacy, leadership, learning, and technology. So think about these 10 things. This is what employers said that they want. How do we make sure that our interns have these 10 skills? These are all in our curriculum. We're all working on them all the time, but if you don't learn anything else today, think about these 10 skills and how will you incorporate them into your program. And there's the website that I found them at. So common challenges for all young people, at least young people that I've been involved with in Project Search: relationship issues, lying and sometimes just fabricating the truth a little bit, personal care issues, grooming, hygiene. Food is always a challenge. Stealing, we've had 3 long-term employees at Cincinnati Children's get fired for stealing, and not stealing big, like stealing $20 or stealing Diet Cokes or things that they didn't need to steal. Less than desired attitude, and then just being immature. So we are encouraging you to use PS Let's Chat on the portal or blog to talk about solutions or problems that you're having with interns. We are redoing our curriculum, as you probably know. These are the 9 units that we are working on right now. We hope to have the whole thing launched by the summer. So who teaches these skills? Everybody. Everybody can teach. You can bring in guest speakers, community partners, graduates. Bring in some of your interns, your past interns, to help you teach these things. We are also promoting building healthy relationships at work, the sexual education curriculum that Catherine McLaughlin did for us. Some people are saying they're not comfortable teaching it by themselves. So phone a friend, get somebody to help you come in, maybe your VR counselor or somebody else that can come in and help you teach that. Teach by example. Use guest speakers from your host business. If you're at a hospital, you've probably got a couple hundred people to choose from as guest speakers. So don't be afraid to ask your mentors, your business liaison, just really cool people at the hospital that could come in and help you teach. Employers want people that can solve problems. We saw that a few slides ago. So if we looked at this, problem solving right here, initiative, those are all critical thinking skills. So our new curriculum builds in critical thinking skills in every lesson plan. So feel free to learn more about those, but we'd like to really have you embed those critical thinking skills into every single lesson plan. And then problem solving. Here's one way. There's a million ways to teach problem solving, but here's one way to teach problem solving. So state the problem and then gather information about it. So let's go back to Donna. Donna's got a problem with, help me, Donna, you keep forgetting your badge, right? Have you ever had students that keep forgetting their badge? We have, and then they can't go to their internship because they don't have their badge. So the problem is that Donna can't remember to bring her badge in the morning. So everybody gives her possible solutions. Hang it on the front door. Put it in your purse at night. Put it in your backpack. Put it in your lunchbox. And then Donna gets to choose the best solution because Donna knows what might work best for her. She tries it out. She goes back to the class and gives them feedback. It worked, it didn't work. And then if it didn't work, we start the process over again. Teaching abstract concepts, you could use T-charts, kind of what does it sound like? What does it look like? You could use the Frayer model. Are you guys familiar with the Frayer model that they use sometimes in middle school to think about abstract concepts, defining the word, giving examples, giving non-examples? Those are always a fun way to teach abstract concepts. Here's an example of a T-chart. What does it look like? What does it sound like? If I'm teaching professionalism. The neat things about T-charts is that you can do them in like 3 minutes, and then you can do one every single day. Same thing with the Frayer model. Role play, you probably all use role play all the time. Our students really like role plays. It used to be the 10-5 rule. I changed it to the 10-6 rule because of social distancing. This isn't something we made up. This is a hospitality and a hotel and a healthcare rule. But when I'm 10 feet away, I smile and I make eye contact with Tina. And then when I get closer, I give a quick greeting. Good afternoon, how are you today? So just one way to build in more acknowledgement. I could see Karen using this at Walmart as well. I could see all of you using it just about in any place. Social stories, you guys probably know way more about social stories than I do, but social stories can be a great way to teach those employability skills. Sorry, I'm just kind of getting through those. Teaching initiative skills, I went on a website to think about that because it's not something we always think about, but always tying your activities to the end goal. For us, the end goal is employment. Incorporating group work because it encourages critical thinking and teamwork. Allowing them to work independently as well as group work. So kind of mix it up, helping them stay productive, and then encouraging them to develop additional connections. If you know why you're using it, sometimes it means more. Why are we doing this? When would I use this in the future? Have I seen someone else use this skill? If so, it's going to mean more to me if I know the skill. And then shifting responsibility to the intern. I love this picture of it's of an actual new program in North Carolina. It's their interns. I just love that picture. All right. This is the Building Healthy Relationships at Work. If you're not using it, it's on the portal. It's totally free to you. And Health Matters is also another, we are just now converting the lesson plans and Health Matters to our lesson plan format. And they're on the portal now. We loaded them last week. All right. We did it. We got through everything in 2 hours. Do you have any questions? And would love to know from a couple of you, what are the big ideas that you left with today?
The thing that hit me the most was like I wrote down the stuff for disability awareness training because I just think that's so important where you go is to be able to educate, you know, because that's how our interns are successful.
Thank you. I'm glad you like that part.
Mm-hmm.
Check out the Manager Mentor Guide. Tina, you've been so engaged and I've really enjoyed watching you. You're thinking. What's one thing that you kind of got from this?
Learning how to dissect the categories of tasks to form your analysis so you'll know how to teach.
Great. I love that you love that part in the video. It was a great, I like when she talks about that. Anybody else? All right.
I'm just really excited, Susie, about all the new things that you all are offering in the resource guide.
Yeah,
Yeah.
check it out. Spend 30 minutes one night. Go to the toolkit. That's where most of these new things are. It's where the new essential documents are. It's where the new Unit 7 is. It's where the Health Matters lessons are. So check out the toolkit. If you haven't checked it out in the last month, you are missing stuff.
Got a lot of neat things.
Good, thanks.